she's on the outside looking in. My experiences with medical cannabis.
When I was 6 years old, I had a pair of red patent leather shoes. I wore them at night Christmas shopping with my parents. They were so pretty. I couldn't stop staring at them, how they shined by the shop lights. For a small thing, they made me unreasonably happy. After I became a medical cannabis patient, I went to Disneyland stoned. That trip was like a paramedic's paddles of life to my soul, or my ability and capacity to feel joy. Because of the teachings of Abraham Hicks, I have the words to explain why cannabis helps me. In Abraham Hicks terminology, I have a strong resistance and a strong focus. This makes me like a dog who won't give up a bone. I miscall in sorrow a very sad, unhealthy bone. The first depends on the CBD, or cannabidol content of the strain. CBD patients are usually living with a physical ailment that causes pain. One example would be cancer. I belong to the other group. We depend on the THC, tetrahydrocannabinol, again simplified greatly because we depend on the CBDs a little as well. The THC reduces my resistance and allows me to use my strong focus on more positive things. As an adult, I was diagnosed with PTSD and depression that began in my childhood. I talk about my childhood and the diagnosis in Free to Be Me. My Disney trip gave me 3 profoundly life-altering moments. The first was at the Haunted Mansion, which was decorated with Jack Skellington for Christmas. It was that bit at the end where a ghost normally hitched a ride. Instead, there was some sort of cartoon snake in my doom buggy with me. And as I watched myself in the mirror, my hand began petting the snake in the reflection as if it were the most natural thing in the world. I felt I understood the ride in the park better than ever before. But it also reawakened a more childlike way of seeing the world. And then we went on the Jingle Jungle cruise. The ride was decorated for Christmas for the first time in ever. It had become a filler ride before that. Something you ride to kill time. I had never seen it filled to capacity. We shuffled through bars and turnstiles once navigated by people who dressed up to fly in an airplane. We moseyed through 2 large rooms of this. I began to notice grumpy faces. A lot of grumpy faces. Rather than give in to my panic, I smiled broadly at each one of them to see if I could tip the grumpy meter. Sometimes I could, sometimes I couldn't. Neither of which had anything to do with me. Some people didn't see me at all. To them, it was as if I didn't exist. Sometime after that, I heard a cast member tell a guest to remember why they came here. I had learned 2 big lessons before we arrived at the animation exhibit. 1, the closer to a childlike perspective I can get, the more fun life and Disney is. I did influence some of the grumpies, but the decision to change stayed their own. Other people's opinions of me have little to do with me and everything to do with them. There are moments of pure magic. Balance, gravity, everything is with you, and reality becomes a bit unreal. At the animators' showcase, they were playing Once Upon a Dream. Or Sleeping Beauty's Waltz. The room was essentially a large carpeted dance floor with big TV screens and doors to other rooms. I started to dance. A friend joined me, followed by a few teenagers. And for the rest of the song, we danced with spontaneous joy.
It made me unreasonably happy.
This next part is hard to explain. After the Disney experience, I wanted more. So I went to the movie Gravity Stoned. Before the movie began, my friends left me alone in the theater, along with 5 or 6 strangers. So I closed my eyes and began to meditate.
Breathe in, breathe out.
I realized I could hear the strangers breathing, and that our breath was syncing up into one large breath, as if the room itself was breathing. My background and upbringing created a tendency towards codependence and people-pleasing. The point at which she must stop rescuing someone else and begin rescuing herself. In other words, I learned a lot about letting go because I realized I didn't know where my pivot point was. I had never before considered at what point I mattered to me more than someone else did. Leaving the theater, I ran into two friends with whom I had had a falling out in the past. I was feeling like a cross between the Grinch and Scrooge after they'd seen the light.